Today on Steelers Talk, we've got a bunch of news and rumors to cover for you guys surrounding the black and gold. First up, there's a new report that the Steelers, quote-unquote, love Tee Higgins and are willing to pay him a bag to bring him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then Julian Edelman, former Patriot great slot receiver, roasts Mike Tomlin's defense. I'm going to tell you why he's right. And then also, we'll finish up today's show with a cornerback trade target that has now emerged as a potential option for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2025 offseason. Before we get into it today, make sure you go follow me on X if you haven't already. Daily Steelers updates, also doing a bunch of NFL draft analysis up on my Twitter, guys. So if you want that daily dose of NFL draft and Steelers news content, you can find me at Jack_Sperry. Okay, now let's get into the first topic today, which is Tee Higgins, all right? And it's a big topic, both physically and, literally and figuratively, because obviously Tee Higgins is a big wide receiver, but this move would just be massive for the Pittsburgh Steelers if they can add him to this offense. Andrew Filipponi reported today that Pittsburgh loves Tee Higgins and are willing to give him a bag. This is what he had to say on X earlier today. Rumor, quote, or what do you say, colon, Steelers love Tee Higgins and would be willing to give him more than they were willing to pay Brandon Aiyuk in a trade last summer. Could mean as much as $30 million a year. Stay tuned. All right, Pony. Well, listen, man, when it comes to the Steelers' interest in Tee Higgins, I can actually buy this, okay? Mike Tomlin has made no bones about his admiration for the skill set of Tee Higgins, who he calls a quote-unquote goon, all right? And what he means by that is he's a bigger receiver who's super physical, and in order to beat him, you have to be physical back to him, which, of course, lays risk to penalties. We've seen that with Joey Porter Jr. quite a bit throughout the years as he's gone up against Tee Higgins. But Higgins is only 26 years old. You could certainly make an argument that he is good enough to be a legit number one receiver in the National Football League. He's 219 pounds, sitting at 6'4", so really, really big body, great body control down the field. And he's also an underrated route runner, which really makes him, more than just like a Mike Williams, just go down the sideline and catch contested balls. He can get open over the middle of the field, and he can separate versus man coverage, which puts him on a whole nother tier of wide receiver, in my opinion. And, you take a look at the numbers for Higgins throughout the last 4 seasons in Cincinnati. 10 touchdowns this year. I had him in fantasy this year, guys. He was very, very good to the spare dogs, all right, plain and simply. And then, because he's got Jamar Chase on the other side of him, he doesn't really consistently get over 1,000 yards, but he almost got there the last 2 years despite only playing in 12 games. So the average is clearly over a first down per reception. He really racked him up this year, 73 catches in just 12 games played. That is a ton of production for a number 2 receiver. And I do want you guys to keep in mind as well that it's going to be very expensive to sign him, okay? Like if you want Tee Higgins, fine. All right, that's fine. You just got to know that you're going to be spending at least a quarter of your free agency money on a guy like Tee Higgins here, who is a legit number 1 receiver, and he's going to want to be paid like it, and there's going to be multiple suitors looking to get his services. I won't be surprised if he gets over $30 million a year. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets close to $33, $34 million per season from a team like the New England Patriots. So the Steelers are going to have to pay up, and right now, because the Steelers are expected to release Preston Smith, the outside linebacker that was reported 2 days ago, the current expected cap space for the Steelers this year, along with the $13+ million that you get after releasing and cutting Preston Smith, is $53.8 million. And once the Steelers kind of go through the rest of their cuts and, maybe they trade George Pickens, whatever, I think that they're going to end up with around $80 million or so to use in free agency this year. So if you pay Tee Higgins $30 million per season, all right, and it might actually be more than that, that would account for 37.5% of the Steelers' offseason budget, all right? So listen, man, that's a legitimate question to ask right now. Is Tee Higgins worth 37.5% of the Steelers' budget for this offseason? And I honestly don't know the answer to that question. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but you're definitely going to be able to do a whole lot less in free agency if you really splurge and pay Tee Higgins $30+ million per season. So let me know your answer down there in the comments section. Is Tee Higgins worth it? Would you pay him $30+ million per season to be the new number 1 receiver here in Pittsburgh? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So here in just a second, I'm going to be telling you about our sponsor today at PrizePicks. And while I'm talking about PrizePicks, give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section. And with that, I want to introduce you guys to our sponsor today, PrizePicks. And PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Florida, and more. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action all on your phone. You can download it for free today. Join over 10 million members and sign up today. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. The big game is almost here, and I know which game. I know you guys know what game I'm talking about here. The Chiefs and the Eagles will meet to decide the NFL champion in New Orleans coming up here in about 2 weeks, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with PrizePicks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game. PrizePicks is also giving away a free pick for that big game where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw 1 yard to win. If you're correct on just one more stat projection, you can win real cash. So let's say you want Patrick Mahomes. Use that free square, and then you get something else right. Like maybe it's A.J. Brown, anytime touchdown, whatever the case may be. You're going to be walking away with some money from PrizePicks. So it's a fantastic deal, guys. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup when you download the PrizePicks app today. PrizePicks, run your game. So former, Super Bowl MVP and Patriots legend Julian Edelman, he has a podcast, and on that podcast this week, he absolutely ripped Mike Tomlin's lack of ability to adapt and evolve his defense over the years, pretty much saying that they're still running the same stuff schematically than what they were running against them when Edelman was still playing. And remember, Edelman's been out of the league for multiple seasons at this point. This is what Julian had to say on his podcast about the Steelers' defensive schematics. The Steelers still do what they did. They still do the same you guys get it. When I was playing Mike Tomlin's defense, I'm like, we still have linebackers covering the 3 slots. So talking about the number 3 receiver in the slot. Every time we play Steelers, I have at least 9 catches. You would think that they would change it up, but no, they do what they do. And yes, Julian Edelman is 100% correct. All right, the Steelers defense, give or take, a couple of different adjustments the Steelers have made throughout the years is mostly the same philosophically as when Mike Tomlin first took this job. All right, so almost 2 decades of this defense being pretty much the same schematically as it was even in the late 2000s. All right, like it's just crazy how Mike Tomlin has been able to do the same defense for this long and have as much success as he has had. And the reality about this defense is that it is sound, all right? This is a defense that was adopted by the Tampa 2 system with Monty Kiffin in the early 2000s. That's where Mike Tomlin learned this defense, right? And then he took it to Minnesota and had success there. That's why he got the job here in Pittsburgh. He's had success here with it for multiple seasons. Even, Pete Carroll, who's also a Tampa 2 disciple, took it and used it to be kind of the base of that Legion of Boom era there in Seattle. So this has definitely been something that has worked for a long time, and these are the tenets of the Mike Tomlin defense. You play cover 3 on early downs to get an extra guy in the box to play the run and hopefully keep the offense in front of you, not allow too many big plays off of play action. Then if you can force the offense into a second down and pass or third down and pass situation, you can throw Tampa 2 in there, and that's what the Tampa 2 defense there in Tampa did, is that every time they got into second and long, third and long, they played Tampa 2, and then what Tomlin likes to do is he likes to throw the Dick LeBeau, different zone fire blitzes on third down, and that's what he likes to do, and that is definitely his style of defense, and that's what he's had here in Pittsburgh for a long time. So this is why I think the defensive coordinator here in Pittsburgh doesn't matter as much as people think that it does. I know people want Terrell Austin fired, and honestly, I don't care if he gets fired or not. It doesn't matter who the DC is here, man. Mike Tomlin's going to run his defense. He's going to tell his defensive coordinator to run his defense and his sequences and his schemes, and it's not going to change. Even if Brian Flores was the defensive coordinator, I know Steelers fans love to say we should have fired Austin and put Brian Flores in. Guess what? He would have played Mike Tomlin's defense, and he wouldn't have been running all of the crazy man match stuff that he had then implemented in Minnesota. It wouldn't have happened that way. So at the end of the day, guys, the only way that the Steelers defense is going to change is if Mike Tomlin is not in the building. Plain and simply. He's in charge of the defense. He comes up with the defensive game plans, and he hasn't changed his philosophy since he got here in the late 2000s, all right? So that's not going to change anytime soon. He's going to continue to run this system, which is a sound defense, but you need the right personnel to run it, and it's also very predictable and very easy to game plan against, which is why the best offensive play callers in football constantly shred this defense, all right? Like Andy Reid, Shane Steichen, all those guys, they do so well against this defense. But you know what else does really well? Us here at Steelers Talk, man. We are the fastest growing Steelers channel anywhere on YouTube. That's all thanks to your guys' support. We're now over 75,000 strong here on our YouTube channel. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now because it's 100% free to do so. We got daily videos for you guys. Every time Omar Khan makes a big move, we're going to be going live with breaking news coverage this offseason. We also got weekly live shows every Monday and Thursday starting at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So thank you guys for all of your support. And without further ado, let's get into our final segment on today's News and Rumors show here on Steelers Talk, which is to whether or not the Steelers should try to trade for cornerback Darius Slay next offseason. Now, obviously, Slay is about to play in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs, and he said in a recent interview before the NFC Championship game that he doesn't expect to be back in Philadelphia next year. This is what he had to say. If I wanted to do my 13th year, if it got to be somewhere else, it will be. But I don't want to. I'd love to stay in Philadelphia, do my last year here for sure, because I ain't doing more. Ain't doing no other than 13. I'm just going to appreciate the moment, just trying to make sure I give this organization the best thing I got. So listen, man, I could certainly see Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers being very interested in a one-year rental for Darius Slay, because he just said in that quote that he only plans on playing one more season and he doesn't expect to be in Philadelphia. So you take a look at his numbers and his production throughout the years. No interceptions this year, but he's been very, very good in coverage, 13 pass breakups, 3 TFLs, so he can make a difference in the screen game as well, bringing down guys behind the line of scrimmage. And then this year, his Pro Football Focus grade, a lot better than what it was in previous seasons. Last year was just a 66.0. This year, he got it up to a 72.0, mostly because Quinyon Mitchell, the excellent rookie that the Eagles have in their secondary, has really taken on Slay's role as the number one corner in that defense, and I think it's probably time, and Slay definitely implies that it's going to be time this offseason to move on from that organization and find a new home. Now, if the Steelers trade for him, they only take on the base salary and then the roster bonuses, so in this case, that's just $1.255 million. All right, so that's honestly pretty darn affordable for a guy that's a really good number 2 corner. Guess what? The Steelers are looking for an experienced number 2 cover corner, and I think that Slay has done a really good job in Philly this year, and I think he'd be a great fit here in Pittsburgh. I think that, that one-year Band-Aid is certainly not a long-term solution. I think that a lot of Steelers fans would rather get somebody that could be here for 4 or 5 years, be more of a long-term solution alongside Joey Porter Jr., but as far as one-year Band-Aids go, Darius Slay is about as good as you're going to get, especially at the $1.2 million price tag that's going to be going up against your cap. Now, for me personally, I think that the Eagles would probably want like a 5th-round pick. Maybe the Steelers can luck out and get him for a 7th-round pick. Remember, the Steelers don't have a 6th-rounder this year, so that's not on the table. So either the 5th-round pick or the 7th-round pick is what the Steelers can offer Philadelphia in a trade. But let me know down there in the comments section, would you accept this trade if you were the Pittsburgh Steelers, a 5th-round pick for the veteran Darius Slay? Type A for accept or D for decline. For me personally, guys, I am typing D for decline. I think a 5th-round pick will be too rich, and I think that a 5th-rounder is too much for a one-year rental like Slay. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate your support. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're right here every single day giving you guys the best damn Steelers content money can buy, 100% free. So until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.